Hey YouTubers, this is Mur171. Today I'm bringing you the next in my line of videos for seeking out the best concealed carry weapon. This is the Kel-Tec PF-9. You can see that it is the two-tone model. And we are going to see how this rates on our criteria for finding the best concealed carry weapon. So to begin, is concealability. Concealability is always our number one for a concealed carry weapon, because if it's not concealable, it's not easy to carry, you won't carry it and it won't matter. So concealability comes out at number one. We are going to rate this gun at a 95 because though it is fairly small, you can see it in the size comparison to my hand, it's not quite as small as, say, a Carb P380. But we wouldn't expect it to be necessarily, because it is a 9mm, not a 380. Though, on the other hand, it is narrower than a Smith & Wesson J-frame. And I'm a big preference to narrower because you can bring it closer to your body and it doesn't stick out as far. Makes it easier to conceal, etc. So with all that said, we are going to rate its concealability at a 95. It is very concealable. If it's a conceal option, they probably make it for the Kel-Tec PF-9. I mean, they make ankle rigs, inside the waistband rigs, smaller back rigs, shoulder rigs, belly rigs, fanny pack rigs. I mean, they make all kinds of things to carry a Kel-Tec PF-9. That's why it's going to get a 95. Not as small as a micro, subcompact micro 380, but like the LCP or the P380 or a TCP, but it is still very small. Next on our criteria is reliability. Doesn't matter what your gun is, if it's not reliable, what good is it? Must go bang when you pull the trigger. Now, I personally have never had a problem with a Kel-Tec PF-9. It's been fairly reliable from what I've seen, but I have known people who have had a couple of problems with them. I have read about people who have had a couple of problems with them. But the vast majority of them, from what I've seen, have been 100% reliable, though there are a few problems out there. And that makes me a little wary to give it 100, so I'm going to give it a 95. It is pretty reliable in my opinion, though I can see why they've had a couple of problems, and some of the problems have been justified from what I've seen, though uncommon. Next is night capability. Since most of the engagements that happen at night, then this gun be a formidable accessory, for lack of better terms, for night carry, for dealing with a night problem at night. The answer is yes. XS makes a tritium front post for it, and it can have a micro flashlight mounted to it. So that's kind of nice. Since it is night capable, it is getting the full 100 points. So we're going to move on to power. Where does the Kel-Tec PF-9 rate in power? Now, the Kel-Tec PF-9 is 9mm plus P rated, though the manual and the website say do not continuously use 9mm plus P. Use 9mm, which is not quite as powerful, but the occasional use of 9mm plus P, which is what I would personally be carrying in it, out of a 3.5-inch barrel, rates at 364 foot-pounds of energy. Now this is not quite 3.5 inches, so it's going to be just a touch under. So, and since our desired power scale is from 400 to 550, we are going to rate this gun at an 85, since it delivers somewhere in the neighborhood of about 350 F plus P rounds. Now, normal 9mm, of course, ranging less and lowering the score more. But that brings us to our next criteria which is bullet selection. They make 9mm for just about everything. Now, granted, this gun is limited to plus P, and it only has a 3.5-inch barrel, so that eliminates plus P plus, and you can't use plus P all the time in it. So its bullet selection is going to go down a little bit. It's going to drag it down to an 85 points instead of what I would consider most 9mm to be, which is somewhere closer to 100 points. But 85 points is still pretty good. It just took a pretty good hit from not being able to regularly use plus P and not being able to use plus P plus. And with the short barrel, it's going to lose a little bit of power on both. But that brings us to ammo cost. 9mm is about as cheap as you get for handgun calibers, next to 22 mags. So as far as centerfire handgun calibers go, 9mm is pretty cheap. It's got, I want to say at the time of this video, something like $24 to $28 for 100 rounds, 100 practice rounds. That's pretty good. We're going to give it 95 points for ammo cost, because it can't do much for plus P. It lacks the hotter rounds, and it lacks the barrel to get a lot hotter rounds, which brings us to our next criteria of versatility. How versatile is the Kel-Tec PF-9? The answer is that it is not very versatile. It is an appropriate self-defense firearm. It works great for that. And that's about it. It lacks a lot of power to do other things. It's got more versatility than a J-frame in 38 Special, because it does have just a little bit more power than that. But it doesn't have much barrel, doesn't have much sight radius, and it's not like you can really go hunting with it for anything but a varmint. So it's going to lose a little bit of points on versatility. In fact, it's going to lose a lot of points on versatility, because it is a defense gun. It does great for that, but that's about where its line is. You wouldn't go running competitions with it that are based primarily on target shooting. It would be a good IDPA gun, I imagine. So it's going to get 65 points. Limited capacity, small frame, not very much power. It took a pretty good hit. But that brings us to our next criteria, which is the speed, grab, and shoot. Now, this is where we see how fast we can acquire a target and then shoot said target in the kill zone. Go. Now, as you can tell, that was in the kill zone. Alright, now that being in the kill zone and it taking approximately 1.6 seconds and a little bit of change on that, that acquired its full 100 points, being under 2 seconds. Again, that's usually about a 1.5 seconds reaction time, which is the average reaction time, and a 0.5 seconds to assess the target and fire. Now, that being 1.6 seconds, it did in fact score the full points. That brings us to our next test, which is shooting controllability. How many rounds can we put in the kill zone in 5 seconds? So let's proceed. Here we go. Set the timer. Go. Okay, now as you can see, there are 7 new holes in the kill zone of the target, but only 6 of those rounds were fired in the 5-second criteria. So that means it's going to get a 60. Also, you may want to notice that the gun tends to kind of straddle the line of the kill zone there on the right. So that said, they all are in the kill zone. They all are in center mass. And that's going to get it 60 points, because only 6 were in the 5-second criteria. Now that's going to bring us to our final criteria. The value. Is this gun worth what you pay for it? Does it fulfill its objective well? I'm going to put the value at 80. It picked up a lot of points because it's not a very expensive gun. The full MSRP on the Kel-Tec PF-9 is around $333. So it's not a very expensive gun. But it's not that cheap either. I mean, $333 is a lot of money to a lot of people. And this is the reason why it got docked its points. Number one, it's not the easiest gun to shoot. The trigger pull is very long. It also has a wicked snap to it. That 9mm is very light. It's chambered in 9mm. And the checkering's very aggressive. Tends to dig into the hand. It's got a wicked snap to it. So again, it's just not that easy to shoot. And its fit and finish is just not spectacular. It's got a lot of edges on it that are just not really all that refined. They're kind of rough and edgy. But it's going to pick up a couple of points on their customer service. KeLTec is a good company. They're an American company, and I like that, and they offer great customer service. So I picked up a few points, but again, it got an 80. That is going to bring our grand total for the Kel-Tec PF-9 to 860 points. That's pretty good scoring on our test. That's one of the higher scores that we've done so far. But again, its price is low enough that you don't feel like you're losing out, not getting enough gun for your money. It's concealable. It's powerful enough to be useful, even for the not as skilled shooter, and it's fairly controllable. If you practice with it, if I practice with it, I could probably do all 7 very comfortably in the 5 seconds. But again, I just picked it up, I grabbed it, I shot it. So it's going to rank where it ranks. Well, anyway, this is Murr171. I'm going to sign off and thank you for watching. I'm going to give a breakdown here when the screen changes, so you'll be able to see the criteria on a full breakdown. And thanks for watching. Please subscribe.